officer coming down. Everything is checked. Take a power set, please. Take a power is being set. Keep it that line, keep it that line. Take a power is set. Brakes released. Okay, speed's coming alive from both sides. Keep an eye out. One more back. Check. Shit, don't be bad. Don't be bad. Rerun, rotate. 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 Oh, shit. Shit. Put this in there. I know what's happening. Sorry. Push it down. Shit. Pull that. Go right. Go right. Go right. Keep pushing. In 1966, a new plane just got released. It was a revolutionary plane. It was set to take off on November 2nd and fly to San Francisco in America. It never made it. It crashed right after takeoff, because of a stall and harsh weather. The engineers and the supervisors couldn't pick more than a perfect day. That's why they crashed. Investigations showed that the pilots couldn't do the calculations right as well. They overloaded the plane with too much fuel. They overcalculated the fuel they needed to get to San Francisco. Since it was a 12-hour flight, they loaded up with 12 and a half hours of fuel. They never made it off the runway. They stalled the left wing and they dipped. The pilots were top of the line. They were the best. They just didn't stand a chance. The scrutiny the airline company and the airline business would take under this one accident would be game-changing. The scrutiny the company that made the plane and the company that hired the pilots come under lots of lies, lots of truths, and lots of everything. Everything just went wrong with the investigation. No one believed each other. It was all one man for themselves, all loaded to fly. At the time of the accident, they wanted to know if it was pilot error or ground crew error. Since they overloaded the plane by a couple thousand pounds and they never get off, and since it was severe weather, they wanted to know if it was pilots or not. So they did an investigation. The captain was 54-year-old Jimmy Jarrett. He just got off retirement. He returned to flying for this one mission. Since he was the most experienced captain the airline knew, they decided to choose him, so he was off the hook. But he was in the U.S. Air Force. First Officer Garrett Butler, 54 years old as well, has also 12,000 hours and a bit more on a DC-8 that he flew for Air Canada. He had also been in the U.S. Air Force and also in the Canadian Air Force. He is more experienced than Captain Jimmy T. Garrett, but he was also off the hook. There was a second officer. They never found his body. They didn't identify him. He went missing. The plane company was a mix of Boeing and Airbus and BAC, BAC was British Air Corporations, which were planning to make the new Airbus, which is a code name for bigger, better. So they combined their strength with Boeing, Airbus, and themselves to make the BAC, the Boeing Airbus craft. They call it the Boeing Airbus craft 2.0, which is actually pretty cool. It has features that no other plane had ever had before. There's such cool features like flaps can go down to 40 degrees, which is pretty amazing. Its stall speed is very slow, actually. It's actually 100 knots. And but the takeoff speed is still the same as any other plane. And there's a flight engineer, but on the test flight there wasn't a flight engineer, there was a second officer, acting flight engineer. It had advanced controls. It can be used as a 2-man cockpit or a 3-man cockpit. It had glass cockpit and everything. Advanced warnings we would see today. It was way ahead of its time. In the end, none of that could save the plane. It was pilot error in the conclusion of the investigation. It was ground crew error in the conclusion of why the plane stalled. And it was the whole company's fault for this crash of the newly built aircraft. So after the investigation, public release was released, like the statement, and Boeing Airbus Corporation was put into a lot of scrutiny. They shut down the project, they shut down everything, and they stopped building planes, and they went back to their normal one-sided stuff. Which is scary, because this happened exactly to a plane back in the 60s, a couple years ago, when a plane crashed on its 4th test flight due to pilot error and design flaws. But the plane was perfect. It was just the pilots. No fixing that.